Media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now.
It says reptilian men.
And what's up, Obscurians? It's time for another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and we decide if they should be tossed into the black void of obscurity or remembered for all of human history. My name is Steve, and with me is a man who's actually an AI avatar. It's
Yahel. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well. You're not actually an AI avatar. I went to that website. Those avatars are too expensive for my blood. No, but I'm doing great. How are you?
As I told you before we went live, I'm a little hungover, but it's my mother's fault.
You're always blaming your mom for everything.
Drink. Yeah, well, I wasn't even going to drink last night, but I had to help her print 20 files, 20 PDFs.
Is your mom making a comic book like me?
No. Actually, she's putting my dad in a home.
Whoa.
But,
wow.
But yeah, this is like the 7th time I've had to talk to her this week, and I don't like her very much. So it's been a difficult week for me. So I got real drunk as a result.
So you earned that drinking, I would say. Well, I mean, good thing you're not the one who's actually doing the walkthrough for you. Oh, wait, you are.
I am. But thankfully, it's a pretty short thing that we're covering since it's a cartoon, so it's 20 minutes.
And it's not like there were a lot of twists and turns in the plot of Eek the Cat.
Well, I mean, a lot happened, but
right.
There wasn't a lot of dialogue.
No.
Why am I so short on the video? That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And whatever makes you feel like a big man, Steve. If you want to make me lower than you on the Obscurity Now feed here, that's
no.
Whatever gets your rocks off. Whatever gets your eeks off.
No one's lower than us. There's me. I'm like 1% higher. And then there's you, and then everyone else is way below.
Oh, no, I mean like the height.
Oh, yeah, all right. Well,
But it's okay.
Why didn't we address this before we started?
I don't know. That's up to you, sir. But no, I mean it's totally.
Oh, are you giving me the?
I just want people to know I am actually about this much shorter than Steve in real life.
Oh, you're giving me the Tony Schiavone treatment over here. Oh, the Bobby the Brain Heenan, how he always said that. Tony Schiavone had to have his chair taller than everyone else's. I'll take it.
Hey, whatever gets your rocks off, like I said, Steve. But yeah, should we dive in, Steve? Because I'm kind of curious as to. I know you always ask me, what's your history with whatever, but I'm kind of curious as to your history with Eek the Cat.
Oh, well, my history is I'm pretty sure I was there for the premiere of Eek the Cat. When it launched, I mean, I was just the right age and really into, I guess, anything they were showing on like Fox Kids Network, Saturday morning. Because I'm pretty sure that's also around the time when the X-Men premiered. And
92.
Yeah, and I remember watching the first one. And, spoiler alert, I watched quite a few after that because at the time I really enjoyed it. How about yourself?
Yeah, I was super into Eek the Cat. However, I couldn't tell you outside of the episode, that I watched for the show here. I couldn't tell you anything about any other episode. I remember nothing, and I was quite surprised when I saw this episode. But it is. I don't know if you looked at some of the ratings on IMDb, but this is actually one of the lowest rated episodes.
I can see why. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but why don't we jump into the Obscuritron?
We should have watched episode 2, Bears in the Hood.
It's a great title. I mean, they had a lot of
It
great
is a great
titles
title.
for some.
I mean, that's what you have to expect from Savage Steve.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh, Savage Steve
he's
Holland.
pretty awesome. We'll get more into him in just a bit. So, shall we dive a little bit deeper into Eek the Cat?
Yeah, let's get deep inside
Oh,
Eek.
Jesus.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right. As we were talking about Eek the Cat, it premiered September 11th, 1992. Nothing else interesting
Wow.
happened on September 11th ever. This is the most important thing in history.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Funny enough, I have a good friend that was growing up. We're still friends actually. That was born on September 11th.
ouch.
Uh, so yeah, that's his birthday. So he and I think he would have been like turning probably because it was September 11th happened on 2001. So he probably was turning 21
Oh,
on
man,
September
that's
11th.
rough.
So yeah.
Poor bastard. Well, we salute you.
He woke up that day like, oh, I'm gonna have a great 21st birthday. Turns on the news. Oh my God.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah, and and he can't exactly go around on September 11th complaining about how his 21st birthday is ruined because that would be insensitive, obviously. But he kind of has a point at the same time. But
He
whatever.
does. He does. Well, a couple of years before that incident, we had Eek the Cat premiering,
Incident.
and it ran for 5 seasons from 1992 to 1997, 75 episodes in all. And you mentioned Savage Steve before. I'm just curious, did you see his any of his feature films, those being Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer?
I haven't watched them, but I've heard of them.
Oh, those are yeah,
Certainly.
classic kind of screwball '80s comedies. I mean, Better Off Dead is a weird one, just because like the first like through the first and second act, John Cusack is trying to commit suicide, but he's such a screw up that he fails every single time.
Perfect. Perfect.
You can't get away with that these days.
Yeah, I did see that he was like a writer on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, the TV show,
hmm Uh,
eh,
y-
which I didn't even know was a
oh,
thing.
the TV show or the cartoon?
Oh, I remember there being a cartoon, but I didn't realize it was a live action TV
Yeah,
show.
I didn't realize
Or
that either. And
well, sounds like something to
yeah,
cover.
sure that, and I guess he didn't do too many other Saturday morning cartoons, but I guess he was the writer and creator behind Incredible Crash Dummies. Remember those? Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I had one of my best friends growing up. Jeez, I can't stop talking about these people today. Anyways, he was born on the anniversary of Hiroshima. No, I'm kidding.
You got some weird friends.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was not. But anyways, he was obsessed with crash test dummies. I did not get why. I did not get the
No, and I
appeal.
mean, I remember the commercials because that's where it started. And I remember thinking they were kind of cool and kind of funny, but not enough for an entire like Saturday morning cartoon show and like toy line. But
Right.
what do I know? I'm not a
Yeah.
marketer from the 90s.
Apparently not, Steve. But
However, I've got big ideas for our toy line, Yahel. We've got, let's see, acid bath Yahel, like
Ah,
drugged out Yahel.
hungover, you
Yeah,
hell.
exactly. Eh,
We can do one doll or one figure pre-vasectomy, one post-vasectomy.
Snowstorm Yahel. He comes with a snowboard for some reason, even though you don't do that. Yeah, so yeah, Savage Steve is an interesting fellow. But moving on, the synopsis.
Did you wait, whoa, 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 whoa,
Whoa.
whoa. Don't gloss over Savage
Oh.
Steve. Steve, you're being a little savage here,
Arr.
if I may. Did you see why his nickname is Savage
Because
Steve?
he kicked a kid in the teeth while playing soccer.
knocked his teeth
Yeah.
out. So yeah,
Can you start referring to me as Savage Steve, please?
I might. I'm gonna call you sexy. No wait, sexually savage Steve. That way we can differentiate it.
You know what? I like it. In fact, that sounds like one of the variants of my action figure.
Sexually
Yeah.
savage Steve. Yeah. It played a lot better with the test audience than sexual assault Steve.
Ooh,
So
yeah. That'll have to be like a mail-in action figure or something for the real
Yeah.
hardcore fans. Am I allowed to read the synopsis now for Eek the Cat?
yeah. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
So here's the series synopsis. All right, it's Eek the Cat is about a purple cat named Eek whose motto is, "It never hurts to help." This attitude generally gets him into trouble, from which much of the humor of the show is derived. Other characters include Eek's human family, with whom he cannot communicate via spoken language, Sharky the shark dog, his worst nightmare, and Eek's girlfriend, Annabelle. And the episode we are going to watch, which is the very first...
I love how they didn't bother introducing any of these people in the first
Right,
episode.
and I think the reason why is because this was like, since it was the very first episode, they just sort of threw this together, for the Fox executives, or just to pitch it or whatever, just to give people a very vague general idea of Eek the Cat.
Yeah, this does not. Yeah, this does not really. From what little I remember of the show, it didn't feel like the
Right, because
show.
I remember a lot more interaction between like Eek and other characters.
Right.
I feel like without Sharky the Shark Dog, it's barely a show.
Yeah. This is clearly like unfiltered Savage
Yeah.
Steve.
Completely savage.
Can you imagine that? Like, I get that. It was his nickname given to him in school, and I'm sure he didn't start calling himself Savage Steve. But he's obviously continued introducing himself to people as Savage Steve, which is such a weird thing
If
to
you
do.
would see his other movies, he seems like a just sort of weird, kind of fun, surreal kind of guy who would do that. I mean, I've never met him in real life, obviously, but yeah, those other movies, One Crazy Summer and Better Off Dead, are just so wacky, like just coke-fueled 80s fun that you'd be like, yeah, this is the kind of guy who would introduce himself as Savage Steve.
And it could, yeah, and in all fairness to Mr. Savage, it could be worse. Like, he could be like Vin Diesel, who, for those that don't know, Vin Diesel's real name is not Vin Diesel.
What? Spoiler alert.
Yeah, his real name. Do you know his real name?
I've heard it before, but I can't think of it at the moment.
Mark Sinclair. And like, I get changing your name if you want to be like especially if you want to be like an action movie star, and your real name's Mark Sinclair. I totally get changing it. It's very common to change your name, like if you're an actor, or like look at just if you're in Hollywood, look at John
Holmes.
Oh my God, the guy from The Daily Show, Jon Stewart. His real name is like John Leibowitz or something, I think. So I totally get it, but man, what the audacity to tell your friends, family, people in your life, hey man, don't call me Mark anymore. Call me.
That's like going from Gordon to like, hey fellas, you call me Sting, like that's Sting's real name. And of course, let's not forget the most famous one of all, or maybe not famous, but maybe to you and I, Billy Gunn's real name.
Oh yeah, Kip Sop.
Kip Monty Sop, or Monty Kip Sop.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
something like that.
Yeah. But I get him changing his name.
That is like, a weird.
Funny
name.
enough, it's fucking weird. And his real name, Billy Gunn's real name actually sounds like a wrestling name, like a wrestling name, but like a terrible.
Yeah, a jobber, like for his entire career.
Yeah, but back to Mr. Vin over here. So like, not only Steve is he like, yeah, call me Vin, but also I have a new fake last name as well. Why?
Right.
Number one would be my thing if I'm his friend, but okay, Vin, what's your new last name? Diesel. So you want me to call you Vin Diesel, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, if you came to me and asked me to refer to you as that, I would be very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Yeah.
So the synopsis for the episode we're going to watch, it's titled Miserique. I guess it's a take on misery. Eek realizes he doesn't get much attention from his family. So he sets out to find a new owner. Eventually he ends up with an old lady who mistakes him for her own cat, Mittens. The lady seems very kind, but her eyesight problem causes several other problems. And this episode was directed by John Halfpenny. They couldn't afford John Fullpenny. They had to go with this guy. But he seemed like the guy for the job. He directed, prior to this, 73 episodes of the Beetlejuice cartoon. And it currently...
A lot of episodes.
Yeah. He currently worked on Super Y. I think that show is still going. It's like a kid's show. And this was random. Have you ever heard of it's like a Canadian animated film that came out, I guess, late 70s, early 80s, like, sort of along the lines of like heavy metal. It's called Rock and Rule. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Well, he was a voice in that. And I think that might be a movie worth covering as well someday. Now, the writers of this episode, who are also the creators of Eek the Cat, are the aforementioned Savage Steve Holland, and we pretty much already talked about him enough, and Bill Kopp, and he wrote Tom and Jerry Blast Off to Mars, Tasmania, another great show, Incredible Crash Dummies, and one episode of Tales from the Crypt. And the production companies included are Fox Children's Productions, Nelvana, and Savage Studios. See, he knows his brand. He knows his brand.
Yeah.
So, who were some of the voice actors in this? Kind of star-studded, it seems like.
Yeah, surprisingly star-studded. You know what's funny is I hadn't even bothered looking at the cast because I was like, oh, it's only going to have a couple people. I'm sure they're like nobodies. Well, joke's on me. By the way, we have Smoke Monster in the chat here. He said that he had forgotten about the Beetlejuice cartoon, which I don't think I ever watched it. I'm not really a big Beetlejuice fan.
It was okay. I saw an episode or two. It was okay.
I'm not really a fan of the movie.
Oh, no?
Yeah. It seems like it'd be up my alley, but
grounds for dismissal.
Wow. Anyways, voicing Bill the Cat, we have Bill Kopp, Kopp. He looks like mostly a writer. Yeah, he wrote on Tom and Jerry, but looks like video, like a short maybe it was like a direct-to-video thing. But yeah, he also wrote an episode of Tales from the Crypt, which I think you already mentioned. Then we have Charlie Adler, who we've seen many times, I feel like, at this point on our podcast. I think he's most probably well known for Starscream in Transformers. I don't think this guy had any Star Trek. Did he? I feel like maybe he does. Yes, that's right. He was on Star Trek Online.
Of course. Are there...
That's got to be the only
All right,
one.
I'll go ahead and run it then. Here we go.
Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection.
Did you hear about the people who were in line to be the voice of Eek the Cat? If I could jump back real quick.
No.
All right. It was originally being considered were one Gene Wilder, John Lovitz, and Steve Martin. And eventually the role went to co-creator Bill Kopp. So he was just like, you guys are pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and give myself the job.
You're okay, John Lovitz and Gene Wilder, but let's face it, you're no BK. This is a job for me, Bill Kopp. And then he turns on like a siren sound.
Right. And
Like
the voice of Eek the Cat was based off of a voice he used to do when he was younger or something with his siblings. So, yeah, it's a fun fact I thought I'd throw in there. Continue.
Well, then we have Elizabeth Daly. She is the voice of Wendy Elizabeth, who I think is like one of the kids, like one of Eek's owners. Anyways, she's done a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Powerpuff Girls. She's Tommy Pickles in
Mm-hmm.
Rugrats. She has a shit ton of credits. Still very
Mm-hmm.
active. Uh, Good for her. Uh,
She's in
then we have.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, your
Sorry, go ahead.
favorite movie.
Yeah, I love Pee-wee. Then we have Tawny
Yeah.
Katane, who I did not expect to see.
Right.
Tawny Katane was kind of like
80s
in the 80s
it
and
girl.
90s,
Yeah.
and yeah, she was like the hot quote unquote it girl. She was in Bachelor
Like Van
Party,
Halen music
which
video or something.
yeah, I think so. Like she's on the roof of the car,
Yeah.
right? No, or was it a No, it was Whitesnake.
What's that?
I think it was Whitesnake. Here I go again on
Oh,
my
that's
own.
what it is.
Here I go again on my own.
As sung by the guy from Creed. All right, good job.
Going down the only road I've ever known. All right.
Brilliant.
Anyways, sorry about that, chat. Uh, she was also in 3 episodes of Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, which we specifically need to cover the episode where he yells
Yeah,
disappointed.
for sure.
Anyway, she was also like in some other Hercules stuff. But moving right along, we've got Brad fucking Garrett. What? Anyways, Brad Garrett, it just says additional voices, and he did a lot of cartoons in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it shouldn't be too surprising to see him because we've seen him in other stuff. Brad Garrett, I could have sworn was in Star Trek, but he was not. I don't know why I thought that. But anyways, Brad Garrett, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Probably people know him from King of Queens, a terrible show.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not King of Queens. Is that what he's?
I got to be honest, I don't know a lot about Brad Garrett.
Wasn't he like in a terrible sitcom Ray Romano? Everybody Loves Raymond. That's what it
Ah.
is. Anyways, it's a terrible show. Not funny. Neither is King of Queens. Then we've got Dan Castanella, who is probably best known for Homer on The Simpsons. I'm sure you had a raging sexual.
Oh, I was
name?
simping for Dan Castellaneta. Yes.
Yes, yeah. I'm sure you were sexually savaging yourself. But yeah. Anyways, that's mostly what he's known for. He's done a couple other things here and there, and that's pretty much the cast that I thought was important. Unless you want to talk about anybody else here.
Yes, we can't not mention, even though I don't think he didn't have a big role, and I couldn't really figure out what or who he was the voice of in this episode because it just says additional voices. Are you familiar with the work of one Cam Clark?
No.
Oh, yes, you are, because he's the voice of original Leonardo and also Liquid Snake from the Metal Gear series.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. I do remember watching you play Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 3 back in the day when we were training to become professional wrestlers. And look at us, Steve. We made it.
We sure did. I mean, other people, they might be wrestlers and podcasters, but we're 100% podcasters. I don't know what that means.
Well, hey, our good friend and somewhat co-wrestling trainee, Pate, aka Tamatanga in New Japan. He just had a big victory over the weekend at Wrestle Kingdom 17. Won the Neverweight championship from Carl.
Wow. Good for him.
One of the guys, I can't remember his last name, but whatever. Who cares? He's doing great, and good for him.
All right, I think that's enough for the cast. So why don't you take us through this amazement?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's funny that I didn't mention Cam because he's been in like 3 Star Trek video games.
I figured he's one of those guys who's everywhere.
Yeah. Anyways, what are we doing now? Going over
the walkthrough.
What's happening? So I'll be taking care of the walkthrough, and we open on Eek, the cat. He's sleeping, he's dreaming, he's licking his lips. We see that his. Did you had something to add already?
Well, I just we can't forget about.
Oh, I know what you want to talk about, the theme song. Yeah, it opens with the theme song. How would you describe this song?
I think it's pretty badass. It is almost a metal riff. And it is good. I mean, of course, it starts out with that sort of cheesy superhero-y music because it shows Eek like as a superhero, and I guess the idea is that you think you're gonna get like kind of a Mighty Mouse kind of show or something, but then quickly Eek starts to be abused by the world that Savage Steve created.
Right.
And then the riff kicks in, and it's awesome. Written by or composed by Nathan Wang, who went on to compose many adult films. I made that up. Maybe it's true. I don't know. And I mean, just right off the bat, watching the opening, I was like, wow, look at all like the Looney Tunes style, like cartoon violence. I really miss this stuff. Like, what was your thoughts?
On the theme, it's fine. It's okay. Very 90s too. For some reason, I remember this having like a more traditional song with like lyrics. 'Cause I think the only lyric is just Eek.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know what the other one sounds like, but when they changed the title of Eek the Cat to Eek Stravaganza, they had another theme that was written by D. Snyder from Twisted Sister.
Oh.
So I don't know. That one might have more lyrics.
It's just it's just the song "We're Not Gonna Take It," but it's Eek's not gonna take it, but it's the same song.
Because he's a real talented guy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just with D. Snyder like yelling "Eek" over the original recording.
Right. There you go. But yeah, I thought it was an awesome opening, and I really liked the theme song. So.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. It was very 90s too.
Very
kind of a theme song. And it was good. I don't know if it really, I wouldn't say it fits the show per se, the music, but it is kind of like zany and wacky. So I guess it's all right. Yeah. All right. So after the theme song, we open up on Eek dreaming. We see that we go into his dream, and we see that it's like a fantasy world where everything is made out of giant food. See like stacks of burgers, a big turkey, all kinds of stuff. He's trying to eat this stuff, and basically like this whole episode is basically Eek trying to eat food.
Yes, it is.
So there's some like flying sardine cans they have. So basically like I guess these are supposed to be like bugs, like, but instead, so they have like wings like a mosquito might, but the body is a can of sardines. Anyways, he jumps up to try to eat it. And he suddenly wakes up midair in real life. I guess he like jumped up, and I guess he like jumped out of his own house or something. I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff you just kind of got to go with.
Yeah, this is the start of, like as I said before, a lot of, Looney Tunes style cartoon violence. It's almost like an Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, Eek the Cat is.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty good description. Then we see, Eek looks through the window. He sees a couple of kids eating cereal. I guess these are his owners, or the kids of the owners. The kids are like eating. There's a funny cereal commercial too that we hear where the tagline is something like the cereal that pops in your head,
and
not in your hand.
Head explodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. The kids are like eating. I think they were eating like cereal, sweets, like donuts, and then spaghetti. This is quite the meal being had here. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sure these kids are going to die of a heart attack sooner than later. But we see that Eek tries to get their attention, to get them to feed him some food, but they're like, it's a combination of the kids don't get what he's asking for, / they don't care, I guess.
It's a combination of them being stupid and neglectful.
Yes. Anyways, Eek, one of the meatballs falls off the plate and it starts rolling. You know how meatballs are very bouncy and rolly in real life.
Of course.
Anyways, he tries to get them, he tries to go after the meatball. It goes out a window. He jumps out the window after it, and like he kind of catches it, but his tail's like in the window, and the window just like randomly closes on his tail. He screams, and then we go to commercial on that.
Yeah, the classic
weird commercial break.
Right, the classic Eek scream that you're going to hear a lot in this episode. I'm surprised it. I guess we should wait to get a little further, but like it's a long time before we hear Eek like actually talk. Which
very strange choice. But again, I think you're dead on that this was probably meant as a pilot or proof of concept kind of thing. Because man, this is not again, not that I remember it well, but I don't feel like this is what it was like at
Right,
all.
right. I feel the same way.
Moving on, we see that Eek is trying to chase the meatball, or he is chasing the meatball down the street. He like stops at like this like crossing and says, "Oh, you gotta look both ways before crossing. You never know when a car might hit you, or you might get hit by a car." And then what comes down the road? A car? No, a plane. Uh, and it's not. It's like driving down the road. Anyways, it blows out some windows. I mean, it's kind
I
of
chuckled.
funny.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate like the absurdity of it. Anyways, Eek like had jumped into like one of those blue mail bins to protect himself. He ends up the meatball rather somehow ends up like on a football. Like there's a football like on the tee about to get kicked off. The meatball ends on top of it. Eek like grabs the meatball, but then a football player comes and like kicks the ball, which also kicks Eek.
Right.
And it kicks him into like a tree. At this tree, there's some baby birds that are hatching. He says something like, "Congratulations on being born."
Right.
So these birds, that means their birthday is also on 9/11.
Wow.
Just like to point that out.
Way to bring it back.
Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, the birds fall out the tree. I think they were trying to fly. I don't remember exactly. I was taking notes while watching this. Eek somehow has like a catcher's mitt or
But
something.
yeah, there's a lot of
catches
him just bringing stuff out of midair, which is kind of classic Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's very Looney Tunes-ish. Anyways, he catches the birds. They're nice and safe, but then a big bird comes and grabs Eek and starts flying him. So the bird drops Eek off at a dump. It was pretty funny. Like one of the canisters, there's like signs that there's like toxic waste there. I don't know exactly what this is supposed to be honest. But one of the canisters said broken glass, and it was just like a canister full of broken glass. It's just so random.
Right.
I thought he was gonna get dumped into that, but he does not.
They do a good job subverting your expectations with these gags.
They really do. Eek somehow ends up in a neighborhood again. I didn't really see how. I guess he just walked to it, but he sees we see an old lady who's smothering her cat, who we find out is named Mittens. And the cat is just like over being smothered. Mittens, like she lets him out for the day. Basically, she's like, "Oh, go have a good time, but come back for supper or whatever." Eek and Mittens start talking to each other, and Eek's like, "Oh, it must be great to be so loved and well fed." And Mittens is like, "Oh, what the fuck are you talking about? This is awful."
Mittens is great. All right, that's Dan Castellaneta. And he sounds like, I don't know, a deranged Vietnam vet for some reason.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got too.
And he's like,
like this cat's seen something.
yeah, he's like, "Oh man, if you wanna, why don't you go? I'm tired of here. I'm out of here, man. I'm out of here." Like it was pretty funny, really random.
It would have been pretty good if John Lovitz had voiced Mittens, though.
Yeah, I mean, either or. Yeah, that would work too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But Dan does a great job for sure. So yeah, Mittens is like, if you think it's so great, why don't you take my place? Eek's like, sure. So Eek goes into the house. This old lady is blind, so she can't really tell it's a different cat.
Do you remember this same sort of trope or cliche, if you will, from another 90s animated show that we watched? One where a live action Nicole Eggert got felt up by two middle-aged men with food.
So somebody in the cartoon was blind, man. I don't even remember.
It was the Super Mario one where
no, I mean I know it's Super Mario, man, but you're saying in the cartoon somebody
Toad got picked up by the Birdo.
Oh, that's right, by Birdo. Yeah, that's right. Oh man. Anyway, so the old lady's basically like Mr. Magoo.
Right. There
basically.
you go.
It's her character. She's gonna get herself into the same kind of situation as Mr. Magoo does. In fact, it's a pretty blatant ripoff, Mr. Magoo. Sure. Anyways, so she's puts him at the table and she's like, "Okay, but before you eat your pie or whatever, we need to get you cleaned up." So she goes to give him a bath, which isn't something you usually need to do for a cat, but whatever. Instead of putting, I think the idea is she was gonna bathe him in the sink. But because she's blind, instead she puts him in a pot, and instead of turning the faucet on, she turns the oven on, or the stovetop on, I should say. And Eek starts to get hot, but he doesn't jump out, and then it's just kind of ignored. Whatever. But she goes to put water in the pot. She's like, oh, I guess the water's turned off. I'll get some water from the fridge. But I can't remember what she grabs instead, but she ends up putting butter on him instead of soap.
Yeah, her weird justification of things is, I mean, so stupid.
She has dementia.
Yeah, she must. But can we talk about her voice, which is done by Charlie Adler? Do you think that she even sounds like a woman?
Not particularly.
And the sad thing, all right, first off, I find the voice very grating, and I've heard it before.
Yes.
Charlie has...
And she talks the most.
Yeah, tell me about it. And Charlie did the exact same voice on an episode of Mighty Max, but instead of playing an old woman, it was like an annoying kid in Mighty Max's class that Mighty Max did not want to hang out with. I never wanted to hear that voice again in my entire adult life, Yahel, and here we are.
Wow. I did not expect that.
I've seen some shit, man. I've seen some shit.
The anger in your voice. So she, finishes giving him this weird bath, and goes to dry him, and the hair dryer is so powerful it starts blowing Eek away. He grabs onto a drawer. The drawer's full of knives. The drawer opens up, and the knives somehow fly after him. Yeah. Whatever. He doesn't get hurt, so I guess it's fine. Yeah. Anyways, the phone rings. The old lady goes to answer it, and stuff starts falling. These porcelain cats that are on a shelf next to the phone start falling off. Eek sees that she has a knitting championship trophy at the top of the shelf, and this trophy is a giant anvil for some reason.
Right. It was just an anvil with 2 knitting things on top of it, knitting needles on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just had written on the anvil knitting championship or something. Anyways, it starts to teeter. Looks like it's about to fall on her. Eek, true to his motto of helping. The funny thing is, Eek says it never hurts to help, but in Eek's case, it literally always hurts him to help, which I guess is the joke.
Yeah, that is the joke. I was reading. He's supposed to be almost kind of an answer to kids groups who always want a helpful cartoon character or something, and I guess it's their way of mocking them that whenever he tries to help, he gets destroyed by the world, basically.
Exactly. Anyways, so he saves her, but the anvil falls on Eek instead. The old lady, I can't even remember why, but I guess she says Eek, you don't look so good. I'm gonna take you to the vet. I guess that was the reason I didn't really catch why.
He got soap or something in his mouth, so she thought that he had rabies.
Oh, okay. There we go. She puts him in the car to go to the vet. In the back seat, she nearly runs several people over as she's driving. You see them fleeing and running away. We see a couple of cops in their car eating donuts and having coffee, which I thought was pretty funny. He literally has the carafe. I don't know how it's from carafe of coffee, and he's pouring it into a cup. Anyways, they start chasing after the lady. She doesn't notice. The cops end up flying into a factory and hitting this big vat of nitroglycerin that dumps on their car. Then they back into a gumball machine also in the factory, and the combination of all these things causes a very minor explosion. The car is fine. The cops just have soot over them, and they say,
what is it that they say?
That they're going to call for an aerial strike.
And then they disintegrate.
I must have been looking down at my my laptop at the time because I didn't see them disintegrate. That's kind of funny. So they died.
Yeah, they were covered in soot, as you said. They delivered that line and then die. Yes.
Wow, dark.
Yep.
Anyways, so then we see like this helicopter, and we see like its targeting thing reticle, which is a skull and crossbones, and I guess this helicopter is going to shoot a missile uh, at the old lady, which is kind of crazy. But anyways, the helicopter is about to shoot her, and the lady like accidentally releases the trunk to her car, and instead of like turning the radio on. Anyways, she had like a hook in the trunk of her car, and it like somehow flies up and latches onto the helicopter. And now she's dragging the helicopter as she's going into a tunnel, and the helicopter is about to crash into the tunnel wall. Eek realizes this, and he releases the hook, but in doing so, he's like still holding onto the rope, and now he's getting dragged by the helicopter, much like the bird was doing earlier. So they're kind of reusing the same gag
from
already.
Mission Impossible, Part 1.
Yeah. This must have been the inspiration. Yeah. So while Eek's holding onto the rope, he like gets flown through like a bee farm, a chicken coop. Eventually, he ends up going through like the top of a circus tent, and ends up grabbing onto a trapeze. As a trapeze is like swinging back and forth, he like tries to eat food from like one of the vendors at the circus. Doesn't succeed. He ends up. By the way, the meatball is gone. The meatball is out of the equation.
Right. But I thought it was funny though when he was on the trapeze, it would swing one way and there's food like to the left and you think he's going to get that. Nope. And then it swings back to the other and there's food on the other side and you think he's going to get that. Nope. God hates Eek the cat.
Yeah. That's right. So where was I here? He ends up in, I think it was the cannon at the circus, and he gets shot out of it. He goes through the circus tent once again and into the lady's back seat. He crashes through it. So hell of a shot from the cannon. So the lady is like, oh, we're here at the vet's. She misreads the sign, and she thinks it says like it's the vet's office, but I think it was saying stuff like, oh, don't open, don't go in here, danger, that kind of stuff. Turns out we're at some kind of zoo / animal theme park kind of place.
Busch Gardens, Tampa.
Yeah, basically. The lady puts Eek in a cage. She thinks it's like a waiting area, but it's a cage full of like tigers and lions and that kind of stuff. So Eek is scared. Eek ends up getting out of the cage, and he ends up in a petting zoo. Were the animals? I couldn't tell if the audio was just like bad, and I couldn't understand what the animals were saying. Were they speaking English or just making sounds?
No, they were saying "pet me, pet me." It was so creepy.
Oh God!
Yeah, they were the weirdest like petting zoo animals you could imagine. And
that makes sense because like Eek, I guess, pets the porcupines.
Right? Yeah, they ask, quills. And he's like, and they don't even show it. They come back, and he's got needles all over his paw. Pretty funny gag. Yeah, pretty funny gag.
Well, we see the lady walk to a door that also says like, "Hey, don't open, get out of here," that kind of stuff. Of course, she opens it, and a bunch of zoo animals escape as a result. Where was I here? The lady, then we cut back to the petting zoo, and that's where we see the quill gag. The lady walks past a sign that says, it's like a giant arrow, and it says, "Deadly animals this way," which, I don't know. I just thought that was funny that they would, I would love it if next time I went to Busch Gardens, there were just signs that said, deadly animals
just ask
this way.
One of the workers there, "Hey, can you direct me to the deadly animals, please?"
I ended up going to Busch Gardens randomly like a couple of months ago, and that place is like dying. It was like dead.
Wait, because no one was there or what?
Yeah, there was hardly anyone there.
It's the off season. I hope it's not dying, but
I mean, like, it was crazy. Like, so many stands were like just closed.
Wow. That's odd.
There was barely any like food stands. Yeah, it was really weird. It was kind of like visiting. Do you remember University Mall and how dead it got? It was like that.
Oh man, well that's pretty depressing news. Let's
and I just got an email from Busch Gardens today offering like which I don't think they've done this for a while. Maybe I'm wrong. Like the whole buy a day, you get the whole year.
Oh yeah,
Kind of pass. I don't
yeah,
think they've
yeah.
done that in a while.
Well, I
so.
hope they don't close down until I get a chance to go back.
Sure. Hopefully they still have things open.
Yeah, let's hope.
All right. Anyways, sorry about that sidebar, everyone. People are like, Busch Gardens, what's that? Anyways, so the lady still walking around the zoo thing. She sees a sign that says like poisonous bugs, and she like thinks it's like a sign that says, to come in this way or something. I can't remember what she said. But she walks into the bug hut, as it's labeled, and it's like poisonous bugs, basically, is the idea. Eek sees that she's walking to this poisonous thing, so she walks in there to, again, try and save her. She sees that no one is in there. She says, well, no sense in wasting electricity, and she shuts off the lights, which makes the bugs attack Eek, because I guess they're all like night bugs.
Right.
He runs out of there and ends up like in a giant pool, and where there's like a aquatic sports show going on or whatever for the park guests. He somehow ends up like on this diving board hanging from it. There's a mule already there. It says diving mule. Because of Eek's additional weight, the diving board breaks. The mule and Eek start falling, and the mule has like has something on its back, and the mule says, "Don't worry, I've got something that'll save us." And it's a parachute. Opens the parachute, but then Eek just like falls off the mule.
I just like to and include that for some reason the mule sounded like Elvis.
Yeah, thank you. I forgot about that. So Eek's about to fall into something. I think something's on fire. But anyways, he gets saved by a friendly dolphin. This dolphin ends up, getting Eek out of the pool. Then we see that the lady walks up to a sign that says, "Ring bell to feed man-eating whale."
Oh, yeah. I mean, you
It
gotta
is
have
so
that. I've seen that sign at SeaWorld many times.
Yeah. So she thinks it says like ring bell for vet or
Right.
something. So she rings it. The whale swallows her whole, similar to Jonas in the Bible.
Nice. I love when you bring up the Bible.
And as absurd as her situation here is inside the whale, it's less absurd than the story
Jonah
of
and the
Jonah
whale,
in the Bible.
yeah.
I think it's Jonah, not Jonas. I've been watching Dark on Netflix. Great show, by the way. And there's a character on there called Jonas, so I'm just having him on the brain. But anyways, so the lady, so Eek sees this. He goes underwater to find the whale, goes inside the whale, and inside the whale, like the whale's like inside is huge, basically. There's like a grand piano hanging from the whale's insides from somewhere, and it's like on a rope, and it's like the rope's breaking, so it's about to fall on her. Eek sees this, gets her out of the way. However, then the grand piano falls on him instead. There's a bunch of other stuff like inside the whale, like there's like a skateboard. I can't remember. There's some other stuff. But then like the lady sees like this giant set of stairs. Like these stairs look like it would go up like 10 stories or something. So she gets out. It leads to its blowhole. Eek goes up the stairs, out the blowhole as well. And then the lady starts walking over a bridge that's broken, and this is a bridge that's over like a bunch of like snakes, like a snake pit kind of a thing. Eek runs in front of her and straddles himself over the missing boards on the bridge so that she can walk safely. Then, of course, Eek falls into the pit, and a zoo worker saves Eek before he can get eaten. The zoo worker says, "Hey, that's no place for a cat. There's a nice lady that's been looking for you." Hands Eek over to the old lady. And he says something, I can't remember. She said something about him being sick, and he goes, "Oh, he looks fine to me." The old lady thinks this is like a vet.
Right. And
she's like,
that's
"Oh, you're all
enough for
better
her.
now." Yep. She's like, "Great." So she goes to take him home to eat, sits him down at the table. He's all ready to eat, but then Eek hears the doorbell ring. Like a moron, like a moron, he answers it without having
Well,
any
that's
food.
because the lady asked him to, and let's just say,
Oh,
it
did she?
wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't just like cat food in front of them. They had a full course meal, like laid out in front of.
Yeah, like a giant Thanksgiving
Yeah,
dinner,
exactly.
basically.
And yeah, right when he's about to take a bite, the doorbell rings. The lady asks him to go get it, and of course, since I guess you could say Eek is a real people pleaser, he goes and answers it, and it's Mittens from before.
Yes. Anyways, so Mittens is like, "Oh, you were right. Oh, it's a jungle out there. You really got to appreciate what you have at home." And he's like shaking Eek's hand, and as he's shaking, like Eek and him are kind of like turning each other around. Where now Eek is out the door, and Mittens is inside, and Mittens says something. "Oh, I hope you enjoyed the food," and blah blah blah, and yada yada. Bye, basically. And then Mittens goes in, and he ends up eating the food, and Eek sees this, and he's very sad about it. But as
at this point, at any point were you actually starting to feel bad for Eek?
No, he needs to lose weight. He's fat as hell.
Wow.
Eek reminds me a little bit of one of my cats, Starbuck. She would eat all day if she was allowed to.
Wow. Okay. Well, we see what kind of relationship we
I mean,
have
she's
with
beautiful.
your cats.
No, I have food out for her all day. But she's constantly trying to get people to she prefers to be pet while she
but
eats. So what she'll do is
your cats like try to help people and then the world screws them over in the end at every turn?
No. No, they only try to help themselves to food.
I see.
Yeah. But anyways, Eek, as he's walking away, he's talking to himself. He says, you know what? Mittens is right. I should be grateful for my home, my family, blah, blah, blah. Then Eek sees that there's a bunch of missing cat posters for Eek. There's banners everywhere. Eek, come home. We miss you. Blah, blah, blah. It's the kind of stuff it says on there. They're even offering a reward for Eek the cat. How long has he been gone?
Yeah, I know. It feels like it's just been like 20 minutes because because that's the length of the episode. And they just crammed so many like gags into that 22 minutes that they just sort of flew by.
Yeah. So anyways, Eek's very touched and happy to see this. His family, he's walking home. There's a giant come home banner on the house. His family left a bunch of food outside for Eek in front of the door. Eek starts scarfing it down. One of the kids opens the door, sees Eek. She's very happy. Grabs Eek, brings him inside. Then Mittens walks out, and he's like trying to give Eek something, looking for Eek to give him something to eat. I can't remember, like a dessert, or I can't remember what he called it. But he's like mad that Eek isn't around, and he's like, "Oh, you try to do something nice for someone," and it's kind of like the Rodney Dangerfield, like, "Oh, you get no respect."
Yeah, I think they just wanted to have like one last kind of eye roll, kind of I don't know, joke to end the to end the episode on, basically. And so
and then because like Mitten says that, he turns around, and then the animals that escaped the zoo earlier as a result of the old lady opening that door run him over.
Yeah, so I mean, at least Mittens got his comeuppance in the end. Take that, Mittens.
I mean, what did Mittens do wrong?
Well, I mean, he
tried to like get Eek to like eat his food, Eek just was unsuccessful, but what did Mittens do wrong?
So, Mittens came back and he robbed Eek of his prize for enduring the old lady for 20 minutes.
But Mittens is under the impression that Eek has already gotten to eat all day.
Yeah, I guess it's not his fault. I mean, I think they were trying to make him into a bit of a villain at the end, since there wasn't one in the end.
I don't know. Anytime. I mean, you're probably right, but anytime I see a cynical character on TV, I'm like, that's not the villain, that's the hero. I can relate to that person.
I'm sure you yell that at your cats like every 15 minutes. I'm the hero.
Yeah, but yeah, that was the debut episode of Eek the Cat. What are your thoughts on?
Let me run the bumper, old chum, and then we'll dive right in. Let's see where it is here.
That's the question.
All right. So I, much like yourself, I was taken aback by this episode because I remember there being like a lot more talking and a lot more interacting with other characters. I think without his girlfriend and Sharky the shark dog, I mean, it's really just a sort of series of random events that definitely did make me chuckle. And I could see how when, this was pitched at the beginning of the 90s, this probably felt pretty fresh and, with the 90s tude and all the in-your-faceness of it all. And even though I would say it's not the best representation of Eek the Cat as a whole, I still enjoyed it. I liked the, as I said, the randomness, the cartoon, the Looney Tunes-esque cartoon violence, and of course, Eek himself. Unlike yourself, I started to feel bad for Eek after a while, just because the world was just totally beating him down. And I mean, I was actually wondering because a lot of stuff in the '90s can be very sarcastic and cynical, and I was just like, is this gonna have a happy ending? Like, how are they gonna end this? And it ended on a pretty positive note. So I say it definitely deserves to be remembered, especially since, I mean, Eek as a whole is a fantastic cartoon. So there's no way I could trash the pilot. How about yourself?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy this as much as you did. In fact, I would say I was pretty bored throughout a lot of it. However, I do remember the show being a lot better than this, and that's why I looked up like the other IMDb ratings for the other episodes, and I'm like, was I that stupid as a child that as I was watching it, I just couldn't believe I liked it because it just didn't seem like something I would have been into as a kid. And like, dude, like I remember I would specifically wake up early on Saturday mornings to watch Eek the Cat because I think it aired like at 8 in the morning at one point. It aired pretty early. It was
one of the earlier ones
the
for sure.
Yeah, and I'm actually though going to say it should be remembered because it is, from what I remember feeling, that it was a good cartoon, and between that and the IMDb ratings, which I think tell me that I was correct as a child, I'm going to say remember it.
Basically what you're saying is you just don't want to be proved wrong. Got it. So here we go.
Well, what I'm saying is start on episode 2.
Yeah, probably good advice. Here we go. In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show. So I noticed there's a Eek the Cat Super Nintendo game. Did you ever get a chance to check that out?
Yeah. I think it's a platformer. I've never played it that I can remember. But yeah, I think it's just a very generic platformer, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Just sort of a typical licensed kind of throwaway game. I
certainly
don't remember it in the slightest. I wish I had time to stream and play video games. I would love to at least give it a shot. Another thing I didn't know, or at least remember, about Eek the Cat was that it had its own comic book for a while there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see a couple of the covers, and I certainly don't remember that showing up in my comic book store, because I definitely would have picked it up back in the day. And from now on, I'm going to have my eyes peeled for Eek the Cat comics, because I want some.
Yeah, I was not aware of that either.
And are you also aware that there's never been an official DVD release of Eek the Cat, because there was a period of time where Walt Disney bought Saban, and I guess they just had no, and I guess Saban was the owner of Eek the Cat, and so they never, Disney and decided to bogart Eek the Cat.
Interesting. No, I was not aware of that. I'm kind of surprised because it did have 5 seasons. Mm-hmm. It ran from 92 to 97, which is unusually long run for the kids' 90s cartoon in particular. So That's kind of surprising that they haven't bothered releasing it, because I mean, no one really talks about Eat the Cat now. But I mean, it was very popular.
I think it's well remembered. I mean, and the only reason why people don't talk about it is because I guess there's, aside from the one episode that, yes, you, listener, viewer, can go watch on YouTube, there's really no other way to officially watch Eek the Cat, at least that I know of at the moment. And that's really a shame, because it's a great show. Do you remember...
Yeah, there's...
continue.
No,
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say, do you remember when it went over to Extravaganza? Do you remember, like, the Thunder Lizards and all that?
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, yeah, it was like the... Because when it turned to Extravaganza, I feel like maybe they shortened the episodes, and it was like 2 15-minute cartoons together, because you would get Eek the Cat first, and then the Terrible Thunder Lizards, and they were dinosaurs, and... I remember they were always trying to either fight each other or someone else, and then there was only 2 humans, like, in the entire show, and, they were always trying to fight the humans. That's what they were trying to do. You don't remember that at all? It was funny.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh, well, we might have to throw that on the old list,
Yeah.
Well, speaking, anything else to mention before we sign off here?
No. I think I covered it pretty well.
You did. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back there. You're the Eek the Cat of podcasting. Speaking of Eek the Cat comics, of course, if you're a normal listener, you know about Escape to Earth, my comic book, which issue 1 was already kickstarted, and now we're trying to kickstart issue 2. It's going on till the end of February, and I'm going to run the promo right before we run the outro here. So make sure you join us next Sunday as we continue to unearth even more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
I'm having a weird day. The name's Adam. Where I'm from, I'm known as the Zero Thief. Depending on who you ask, some might say I'm the best thief. But believe it or not, even the best screws up every once in a while, and that's what I did, and I had to make a fast getaway. I ended up crash landing on this bizarre planet. Turns out, I didn't get away fast enough. These winged freaks followed me here.
It's just us here, Zero Thief, on this empty backwoods planet. So start talking, either to me or my blade.
Okay, I do have something to tell you. It's about the planet. It's not that empty. Come on, man, I thought you were gonna die. Come on, loose. Cut me loose. Behind you. Whoa! Thought I was done for. It was gonna be a light snack for a snarling creature, but then she showed up, riding on the back of one of those monsters like it was nothing. And with a wave of her hand, the other razor-toothed beast just stomped away. I'd never seen anyone like her before in my life. I thought I'd say something clever. Thanks, have you seen my ship? She gave me a look that said more than words ever could, because I think she was trying to read my mind or something. And from there, things just got even weirder. Escape to Earth. Issue 2, crowdfunding now. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.